Just got in my new shipment of Heroscape. This is the Embers of War October 2025 release. Super excited to take a look at all this and see what we've got in this big-ass box. Go ahead and pop this open and take a look at the contents inside. Pretty large box, actually. I may have a Heroscape problem. That might be a recurring theme of this video. But I think it's a good problem, you know? Anyhow, a lot of packing materials. We can go ahead and dump that. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the actual contents of the box in here. So, lots and lots of Heroscape boxes inside of this. Let's go ahead and pull them out one at a time and see what we've got in here to work with. Alrighty. First up, we have the Great Bow Archers and Scions of Icaria. There'll be several of these in this box. Again, I may have a Heroscape problem. Let's get everything out of the box first, and then we'll take a look at the individual boxes. So we have one of these. We have one of the Gallery and Krakenling expansions. This is the new dice set with a dice tray inside. Honestly, these dice don't look terribly readable either, which is a real bummer. But the dice tray might be cool, so hopefully that's useful. Another Scions and Great Bow box. We have Crimson Widow and the Dreadnoughts. A Deflectatron promo figure. A terrain pack. This is the new road set. The other new dice pack. Honestly, these ones look like they might be a tiny bit more readable than some of the others, but we can't see all the sides yet, so we'll see once we get these out of the box. Another terrain expansion set. This is the Castle Walls setup. Another Gallery and Krakenling box. Another Gallery and Krakenling box. Another Gallery and Krakenling box. I might have a Heroscape problem. One more Scions and Great Bow box. And this is the Dryan faction box from this release. Alright, that is everything that was in the box. It is all empty. Let's push that aside and take a look at the actual stuff we've got here. Alright, so this is everything that was in the box. We have the two unique packs. We have two terrain packs. The dice and dice bowl thing. The Deflectatron promo. And then the common figures. So what I got for now was 3 of the Great Bows and Scions and 4 of the Krakenlings and Gallery. I think I'll want to get a 5th copy of the Krakenlings and Gallery eventually, but we'll see. Alrighty, let's pop open some of these boxes and take a look at the figures. Let's start with Deflectatron, because he's nice and small. So we have the Deflectatron box. Let's go ahead and open him on up. I try to be careful. I've been trying to save these boxes. So inside the box, we have Deflectatron. And of course, his card. So the mini for Deflectatron does in fact have 3 hands here. You can take a look and see he's got 3 heads and 3 hands, sort of all in this symmetric pose. Pretty beefy body, actually. Like, the figure itself seems pretty solid. Base is like marginally warped, as some of them are, unfortunately. But that is Deflectatron. Next up, let's pop open one of the Great Bows and Scion boxes. And I'll just pop open one of these for now so that we can take a look at them. I'll open the others later. So popping open this box here. Oops, one of the Great Bows fell out. My goodness, those Great Bows are massive. Those Great Bows are absolutely massive figures. I'm going to go get a figure from Classicscape to be able to show you the scale on that, but they're just huge. The Scions are actually also a bit larger than I would have expected. I'll grab the Wormlings from Classicscape as well to do a comparison of size here in a moment. And then the card is also in here, or cards. So we have the cards for both of these guys. Be right back. Right, I am back with a few figures from Classicscape to do a size comparison. This is the new white Scion, and this is the white Wormling from Classicscape. So somewhat reasonable size comparison. I'd say that the new Scion is slightly larger, but they're definitely not like out of the realm of reasonability in terms of being the same size. From Classicscape, this is Frost Giant of Moor, and this is the Great Bow Archers. So honestly, pretty reasonable size comparison in terms of the bodies themselves. The Great Bow sculpt is a little bit bigger because of this bow, but the actual like size of the physical being in them is pretty reasonably comparable. So in terms of like being giants that are the same size as the existing giants, I think this is pretty reasonable. These are the two Great Bow sculpts. These are the 3 Scion sculpts. All right, let's pop open a Krakenling and Gallery box next. If I can manage to do so. Alrighty. We got everything here. Let's pull out the Krakenling first. Kind of looks like a large snail. That's my first impression there. Those tentacles going forward are going to be a little bit of a problem for some line of sight blockers, so like you're definitely not going to be able to put them directly next to a ruin here or something. Probably fine on the sides from line of sight blockers, but yeah, anything on that front is going to be a real impasse for obstacles to be able to fit on a map. The gallery are actually pretty large relative to what I was expecting, I'd say. These are some quite large wings on the backs of these guys. That's also going to be a little bit of a hindrance for placing them in some spots on maps. Got the next sculpt coming up here. Again, quite large wings, going pretty far back. Another gallery sculpt. And then the last gallery sculpt here. You're going to be able to like put this guy like next to a line of sight blocker on this side, but not next to 2, because the second one is going to end up sort of getting in the way of those wings back there if he's in a tight spot on a map. All right, next up we have Crimson Widow and the Dreadnoughts. Here's the stuff coming out of the box. So Crimson Widow is the smaller one, for sure, of the bunch here. We got a nice sort of smallish sized human being. And then Dreadnoughts. This first one's actually pretty small as well. So this Dreadnought's quite small for size comparison, especially when we compare him to this next big-ass one. So, like, the Dreadnoughts are definitely very different sizes in terms of the physical sculpts. Same deal going on with this guy here. So that's the sort of allotment of them. And then we have the cards, of course. Last box of figures from this release, we have the Heroes of Arboreus, which are all of the Dryans and their beasts. Let's pop this guy open. This one's actually not coming out of the box quite well. Not sure what's going on with that. Let's try to open this a little bit more gently. Well, I pulled the cards out first because I didn't want to damage them. So we have the cards here. Let me see what's stuck in here. Interesting. So I actually think that Garushia had kind of fallen out of the packaging on the way, and that's what was making it sort of stick in the box. But let's throw Garushia back in there and then show you what these guys look like. So that's the set of them. We'll start with Garushia because that's the one I had just picked up. Garushia is a pretty reasonable sized thing, I would say, here. Especially, and then we can compare Garushia with Vrono, who's the little one of the similar design space. So, you know, they look pretty similar. Makes sense. Then we have Shana, or Kana, however you say that, the Zenith Wing. So, little flyer. Probably pretty comparable to Anshu and Kita in size, so that's good. Now we've got Marishot Mind Whisperer here. And then now we have Halushot Corruptor of Beasts, who is this absolute massive figure thing. So let's first off compare Halushot to the Whisperer, Marishot over here. Like, that is a massive size difference. Then we can compare Halushot here to one of the Great Bows, and that's actually a reasonable comparison. Like, those are about the same size. That's definitely a lot bigger than I was expecting from Halushot, I have to say. Just this physical mini here is just quite imposing. This is a very large figure to have out on the map. That is all the figures that we have picked up here. Let's take a look at the dice boxes and the dice sets now. So first off, we have this dice tray and dice set, which I don't think these dice are usable in the slightest, but I'm really hoping the dice tray is going to be usable. Figure out the best way to cut into this thing. Just cut off at the top here. Let's see if we can get into it. Righty. So this plastic is definitely harder to open than the others were, than those other boxes were. This is that sharp plastic where you can definitely cut yourself if you're not careful. So certainly be careful taking these guys out of the boxes when you get them. And then here we go. We've got it out. So this is the sort of up close of it. Let's take a look at the dice tray first because I'm more excited about that. So the inside of the dice tray is the classic map of Valhalla that we had a long time back in one of those original boxes back from Heroscape, which I'll actually show you on the wall here in a moment for comparison because I've got that mounted up. So we'll take a look at that in a second. And then the back of this is just a generalized symbol. Pretty cool looking. The quality on this dice tray is actually quite nice. I'm happy with what I've got here. The back bit of it here, this is like very solid material. Like, this isn't bending. It's got a little bit of give, but it's not like collapsing in half or anything. And the sides seem pretty reasonable. I'm quite excited about this dice tray. I think I may add this as like my normal one. The map of Valhalla is pretty sweet. Let's take a look at the dice now. Man, these are bad. These are so bad. I'll give you a view of each of the sides of the dice here. So you're looking at skull, shield, and blank. And man, these are not good. The contrast, just like the other dice, it's just like there isn't any. Yeah, this is brutal. Don't use these dice. And then here's the D20. Some of these are a little bit easier to read. This 19 here isn't awful. Some of these other numbers are pretty brutal. Like that 15, I don't think I could read that 15 very well at all. Yeah, also just like, man, I don't understand. How is it this hard to make dice that are readable? Like, I don't understand. I really don't. Well, let's take a look at the other dice pack, though, and see if that one's any more legible. So this is the Utgard dice pack. Hopefully these are, usable. We'll find out shortly. Oops. Sort of falling everywhere here. This is the dice pack out of the box. First impression here is that the silver on the red here is a lot more readable than we had from the other dice. So for a little bit of comparison here, like this dice here, I don't think is readable at all. I do think these are much more readable. I wish the skull and the shield were a different color still. Like that would just help so much. I don't really understand why they're not, but at least you can kind of read what's going on here on these dice. Let's take a look at them on all sides. Here we've got skull, shield, and blank. And I think these ones could be used. I really wish they were a different color on each side again. Like, I don't see why they're not, but at least these are a lot easier to read than the other dice that we've been getting from Renegade so far. The D20 itself still has some marbling on it, which is brutal. Like, some of this marbling is just really hard to read because the marbling tends to interfere with the way that the numbers are designed. Some sides are okay. But, yeah, I don't get this marbling. This marbling still just makes it really hard to read. Probably won't be using that D20 at all, unfortunately. All right, here's the new dice tray. So this is the map of Valhalla. And if we compare this out with the OG map of Valhalla that we got way back in the day from one of those sets, we can see it is, pretty much the same map. We've still got the little Utgard down in the bottom left, although you can't see that on the one on the right, and the castle up in the top right.
You can see those things better on this colored version of that same map, actually, so I'll back out here and compare it with that instead. But this is a pretty good comparison sake here because we have the Utgert down here in the bottom left, which we still have in here. And then, yeah, I mean, it's the same map. Pretty happy about this dice tray, honestly. And, like, I think it makes, like, a really nice addition to this set of maps as well.
All right, last thing up is the terrain packs. So let's take a look at those. We have the Roads of Valhalla. So let's get this guy open. So coming out of the box here. Lots of road. Yep, just some road packs in here. So three sort of individual little road packs down here. We've got this pack of the 5 hexes, which are the same shape and everything as what we had before. So there's 2 of these. These actually look different to me than the original road. These look pretty meaningful different. Let me go get an OG one to compare it with. So this is the new road, and this is the original road. So these are pretty clearly distinct colors that we're seeing. I don't think you're going to mistake these for each other, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on whether, like, if you want them to work together and look good together on a map, that could be an issue. If you want to keep them separate in your collection, that could be a good thing. So a little bit of mixed signals there. Let's go ahead and snap these together with the original in place. So here's sort of 3 of them next to each other. The ones on the outside are the new ones, and the one on the inside is an OG. So, yeah, definitely a little bit of a different look there. Now we, of course, have the sides that go along with that. So the second bag is the 4 sides that attach onto those. Just make sure they fit. Yep, they do. Beautiful. So that's, sides, of course, sides for a bridge. And then the last pack is what appears to be all single hexes. Yep. So, bunch of single hex road tiles. See how many there are. Looks like 15 single hex road tiles. No 2 hex road tiles in this pack, which is a distinction from the previous set. So the original set had 8 2 hexes and 8 1 hexes, and this has 0 2 hexes and 15 1 hexes. But it does have 2 of the longer 5 hex pieces instead of 1, whereas the original set just had the 1. So it's got more of this, and then none of the 2 hexers. All right, last box that I have up from this is the Ruins at Lars Edge. So let's take a look at that. This one's actually the heaviest box by far. I'm not sure what all's in here, but like weight-wise, this box is definitely the heaviest. So then we've got these guys coming out. Lots of individually packaged tiles in here. Let's see, we have, yep, just lots and lots of wall. So we've got these pillars, these thick wall pieces, the triangular pillars. I'll take one of these out and show you the distinction. So these are the triangular pillars in all regards here, as opposed to that first one that I had pulled out is the square pillars. So it's got some of each of these guys in here. And we've got these bits that hang together between the walls. Some additional sort of individual pieces here. And then the bases. So these will attach to normal hexes, and then the roads will pop, and then the walls will pop in. Let's take a look at that just as an example. So we can pop out one of these guys and sort of lock it into a 1 hex road here. And then take out one of these other tiles. Let's go with the square one that we had from before. And you pop it down onto that base. Actually, it doesn't lock into place. So that's the distinction between these and the original castles. The original castles locked into place and were sometimes a bit hard to get out. These ones just sort of set and then come out, which I actually like better, to be honest. Gravity is just going to hold this in place like really well on a map. and it's not going to pose the issue where you need WD-40 to separate it, which sometimes we do for the original castle pieces. Yeah, lots and lots of cool castle line of sight blockers. I think that this set here is going to be just awesome in terms of being able to create line of sight blocks on tournament level maps. So super excited to add these guys in and have more wall options. Right, this is a showing of all of the new figures we got in this release. Over here we have the Dryans and Beasts from that box. Back here we have the Gelry and the Krakenling from that box. We have Crimson Widow and the Dreadnoughts here from that box. We have the Great Bow Archers and the Scions of Icaria from that box. And then the Deflectatron promo figure here. That is the Embers of War release from October 2025. You've got all the new figures here in the background behind me, and then also the tiles that I showed you and the dice tray and such. Definitely excited to get these guys out on the table and use them in upcoming tournaments and games, so looking forward to that. And hope this video is fun and useful to anyone who hasn't gotten their hands on these guys yet and is excited to do so. Peace, y'all.